Hi, I'm Judith Cassel-Mamet, and this is the fourth video in my Adventure Journal series, where today I'd like to show you a really great tool that I like to use in my mixed media journaling. These are dustless blending chalks. I like to use dustless blending chalks in my journal. They're very different from regular chalk pastels. As you know, if you use a chalk pastel and do a drawing here, when this page closes up, that chalk is probably going to smudge all over here. Well, the first brand that I found that makes these chalks is Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo, and these are the chalks that I've been buying from them for journal work. As you can see, some of them are already cracked. That's one of the problems with this product. But even if they're cracked, I can take a piece, apply it to my page, just like a regular chalk pastel, but here's the difference. If I press hard on my page surface and basically scrub the pigment into the page, then it becomes dustless. Once it's scrubbed in pretty hard, that's not going to go anywhere. So if I drag something through it, it's not going to smudge. When the book closes, it won't smudge. And the really amazing thing is, here's a very fine point pen that I like to use for journaling. I can draw over this chalk and it won't clog my nib. So that's one way to apply these chalks. Another way is when you get the chalks and you have them before they're cracked, you can swipe the color gently and then press down hard and apply the chalk wherever you want. For a little bit more defined application, you can use a Q-tip, and that will allow you to control where this chalk is going. So I've been using Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo brand dustless chalks for a long time, and now they're getting hard to find. So my friend at an art store here in Denver called Gyrie's, my friend Felicia called me and asked me to come down and try out this new brand. This is put out by Pebbles. I'll have a link to it on my website, which you'll see at the end of the video. These are dustless blending chalks, but instead of using this kind of cotton and just getting sort of messy with it, it comes with a little alligator clip. And these things they call pom-poms, which at first I was kind of skeptical about, especially since the whole kit looks like a pink scrapbook party material that wasn't really my thing. But turns out they really work great. So I have my alligator clip with the little pom-pom. I swipe it over the color I want, and I can apply it just like I did with the other chalks, and I can control where this is going, and it's not nearly as messy. And goofy as it sounds, you can just put that little pom-pom back and reuse it over and over again. So in some ways, this is a lot cleaner and more controllable than the other chalks. I can go back and use this cotton square, just like I did with the other chalks, except that I'm not getting quite the intensity of the color coming off on my page. So there are three other products that come with this kit that I really like. First of all, they do have a couple of stencils. I'm not so crazy about their stencils, except I like that one for the swirl. You can apply the chalk through the stencil pretty easily, and it shows up nicely. The other product that comes with this kit is a little brush. And then the other thing that's kind of fun is they give you an eraser. I'll use any eraser for this. Your chalks can go into the negative as well, and you can erase a design or any part of the chalk that you don't like to create another effect. Still recording. My favorite stencil to use that I work with in journaling is simply to get a deckled edge from a ripped piece of paper and I'll apply my chalk right to the edge of that page. Again, you swipe gently and press down pretty hard. and you can get that beautiful line that just helps punch up the page. I can flip this back over and keep going over and over and over again and build up a really interesting pattern. And you can see I'm working the chalk on a page that I already prepared with some handwritten text. The last stencil I want to show you is super easy and a lot of fun. You probably have one of these old-fashioned hole punches in your house somewhere. If I just do some random holes, that becomes a stencil and does an interesting punch on the page behind it. So you can see how you can use just scrap paper sitting around and punch holes in it, cut it out, or rip it to use as a stencil for these kinds of chalks. Now I'd like to show you some examples in my journals. As you can see, I like to work the two pages facing each other. That's called a spread. I started off with these really funny rubber stamps that a friend brought to a journal class. Then I cut out a doorway here, put some metallic tape on it, made it so that this little door would open so you could see some of the text on the page behind. And just to punch it out a little bit more, I took some black dustless chalk and went around the door frame. And what's amazing, as I said, is it's not smudging on this page when they're closed, and it's not smudging right now as I'm rubbing my finger over it. So that's one application of the dustless chalk. Here's another one. Here's a photograph I ripped and attached to my page, and I did some other writing and was playing with some mixed media, and it just felt like the page needed some more sort of unification and something more to it. So I layered it with the dustless chalks. They went over everything and nicely around that photograph. Here's a page that I wove together and then used the chalks around it. After I used the chalks, I did my lettering. And on this side, I took some text out of a book, attached it to make a flap, and I wanted to pull out the title there and emphasize that a little bit. So I just chalked around that and chalked around the edge. And then finally in this book, here's where you can see how I used the stencil that came with that kit. I stenciled this area and this area first, then layered it with some text in brown pencil. Still needed something, so I put the brown chalk on as a layer. I still was feeling like it wasn't done. Then I did this writing over it, and lastly I put some tape, some clear tape over that. This last example I wanted to share with you is really fun. It's a page of discarded text that came out of an old book. I went through and highlighted some words that I really liked to make a new phrase, and I used arrows to show how to read it. Then I used my chalk to push all the rest of the text to the background and allow these words to stand out. This is called found poetry, and it's a really fun way to use found text in a mixed media journal. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoy using dustless chalks. They really are one of my favorite journal tools, and everyone in my workshops really enjoy them as well. I have more information on my website. I hope you'll look at my website, and if you're in the Denver area, consider taking a class in adventure journaling.